The gym was buzzing with the usual end-of-day energy, weights clanking, music thumping, and trainers shouting words of motivation. It was one of those upscale MMA gyms in downtown Atlanta, where everyone looked like they had something to prove. Among them stood Jason the Hammer Riley, a 28-year-old black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, local tournament champ, and self-proclaimed king of the mats. He wore his black GI like a crown, chest puffed, smile cocky. Jason thrived on attention, and he got plenty of it. People gathered when he sparred, phones out, always hoping to catch a highlight reel moment. But tonight, he was bored. He needed something different. That's when his eyes landed on someone mopping the corner of the mat, quietly, like he didn't exist. It was a janitor, mid-40s black man, stocky frame, wearing a faded hoodie and beat-up sneakers. Nobody ever really looked at him. He just showed up, cleaned, and disappeared. No one even knew his name. Jason grinned and shouted loud enough for the whole gym to hear, "Hey, OG, you ever thrown a punch in your life?" Heads turned. Some chuckled. Others just watched, confused. The janitor looked up slowly, mop in hand. His eyes were calm. Tired, but calm. "I used to," he said quietly. "Oh, yeah." Jason laughed, walking over. "Let's spar. For fun. I promise I won't break you." The gym snickered. A few people started filming. Someone whispered, "He's going to destroy that old man." The janitor sighed and leaned the mop against the wall. "I don't spar for fun," he said, but his voice wasn't angry. It was just matter of fact. Jason raised a brow, scared. A beat passed. Then, to everyone's surprise, the janitor walked to the locker room. No one expected him to come back. But 3 minutes later, he returned, not in work clothes, but in a plain white GI. No patches, no brand, just clean, worn fabric. Around his waist was a belt, black. Not brand new, not faded, just real. The room went dead silent. Jason's smirk faded just a little. The janitor stepped onto the mat, barefoot, steady. "I'm not who you think I am," he said softly. Everyone leaned in. Something told them. They were about to see something they'd never forget. Jason tried to keep his grin, but his eyes gave him away. Just a flicker of doubt. He hadn't expected the janitor to actually have a black belt, let alone walk out looking like he'd worn it for years. The silence in the gym thickened, like everyone knew something real was about to go down. "You sure you're up for this, old man?" Jason said, circling him on the mat. The janitor didn't reply. He just nodded once. A trainer called out, "Let's keep it clean. Ready?" Jason bounced on his heels. The janitor just stood there, calm, unmoved. "Go!" Jason came in fast, trying to test him. Light jab, low kick, nothing serious. Just enough to wake up the crowd. The janitor didn't flinch. Then Jason tried to grab him. Just a quick clinch to test his grip. What happened next stunned everyone. In one fluid motion, the janitor shifted his weight, turned, and flipped Jason clean over his hip. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't flashy. It was flawless. Jason landed with a heavy thud on the mat. The air knocked out of him. People gasped. Someone dropped their protein shake. The room exploded with whispers. Jason scrambled up, red in the face. "Lucky move," he muttered. They squared up again. This time, Jason attacked with force. A combo of jabs, a spinning kick, then a sudden attempt to grapple. The janitor moved like water. No wasted energy, no panic. He slipped out of holds, redirected energy, and used Jason's strength against him. A few seconds later, Jason was on the mat again, this time in an armbar so tight, he tapped out before anyone even realized it was locked in. Silence. Jason sat up, breathing hard, staring at the man who just humbled him in front of the entire gym. He looked around. The cameras were still rolling. People were in shock. "Who are you?" Jason finally asked. The janitor stood, helped him up, and simply said, "I used to teach. Long time ago." He walked off the mat, back toward his mop. No swagger, no gloating, just quiet dignity. But no one looked at him the same way anymore. He wasn't invisible now. And something told them this was just the beginning. The video hit social media before the sweat even dried on the mat. Someone had titled it, Black Belt Janitor School's Local MMA Champ. Within hours, it had hundreds of thousands of views. By the next morning, it was on every fighting forum and Instagram reel. People were tagging UFC fighters, gym influencers, even black belt legends. Everyone had the same question. Who was that janitor? Back at the gym, things had changed. The man who once blended into the background now walked through the building with silent respect trailing behind him. People moved out of his way. They nodded at him, unsure whether to say sir or coach. He still carried his mop, still wore the same hoodie. But the way people looked at him was different. Like they were trying to piece together a puzzle they hadn't even known existed. Jason didn't show up for 2 days. When he finally did, he walked straight to the janitor during a slow hour. No crowd, no phones, just the two of them. "I looked you up," Jason said. "Couldn't find anything." The janitor kept mopping, not looking at him. "You won't." Jason hesitated. "So what happened? Why were you cleaning mats instead of teaching on them?" The janitor stopped and finally met his eyes. "You ever lose something you loved so much you couldn't go near it again?" Jason didn't reply. The janitor exhaled. "My name's Marcus." Jason blinked. "Marcus. Just Marcus." Then he picked up his bucket and walked away. Later that night, the gym's owner called a meeting with the trainers. Word was someone had convinced him to let Marcus teach a small grappling class on Sundays, just for beginners. When the sign-up sheet went up, it filled in 10 minutes. No flyers, no ads, just Marcus's name written in small letters. Jason signed up, too. He didn't tell anyone. Sunday rolled around, and class gathered on the mat. Unsure what to expect, Marcus stood in front of them, barefoot, GI crisp, face calm. "I don't care about belts," he said, voice low but clear. "I care about control, awareness, and heart. If you're here to look cool or go viral, leave now." No one moved. "Good," he nodded. "Then let's begin." And with that, the janitor began to teach, not with flash, but with precision, not with ego, but with purpose. And slowly, the room started to understand they weren't just learning how to fight. They were learning how to be still in chaos. And Marcus, he was beginning to find something he thought he'd lost forever. Word spread fast. By the third Sunday, Marcus's beginner class wasn't just full, it was overflowing. People stood outside the mat just to watch. Fighters, cops, even a few former military guys sat cross-legged like school kids, listening as a janitor explained wrist control with the same calm tone he might use to discuss how to mop a floor. But Marcus didn't change. Same hoodie before class. Same mop after. Same silence in the locker room. No social media, no stories, no merch deals. Just quiet teaching, and then back to being invisible the moment the class ended. But Jason noticed everything. He noticed how Marcus always paused a second before showing a move, like memories held him back. How his hand sometimes trembled before a demonstration, but became steady the second he touched the mat. Jason wanted to ask, but he knew not to push. Until one Sunday, Marcus pulled him aside after class. "I saw your last fight," Marcus said. Jason raised a brow. "You watch MMA?" "I used to live it." Jason hesitated. "You fought professionally?" Marcus nodded once. "Long time ago. Pride. Japan. Before social media. Before all this." Jason's mouth fell open. "Wait. Marcus Bell? You're Marcus Bell." Marcus gave a faint smile. Jason almost fell over. The name wasn't just known, it was legendary. Marcus Bell had gone 17-1 before vanishing overnight. Rumors had swirled for years. Injury, scandal, even death. But no one knew the truth. "Why'd you leave?" Jason asked, heart pounding. Marcus didn't answer right away. Then he said quietly, "My brother was in trouble. I had to choose between the title or being there for him. I chose blood. I never fought again." Jason swallowed hard. There was no pride in Marcus's voice. No regret either. Just truth. That night, Jason stayed after hours. He watched Marcus finish mopping. The man had fought in packed arenas, and now wiped sweat off floors without a trace of bitterness. And in that moment, Jason realized something. Greatness isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it cleans up after others. And sometimes it teaches with scars instead of medals. Marcus Bell didn't need the spotlight anymore, because what he was doing now might matter more than any fight ever did. One evening, just before Sunday class, a sleek black SUV pulled up outside the gym. Out stepped a man in a suit with a clipboard in hand and a look of someone used to getting what he wanted. He walked straight past the receptionist through the weight room and onto the mat, interrupting warm-ups like he owned the place. "Marcus Bell?" the man called out. Everything stopped. Heads turned. Marcus, who had just been showing a basic sweep, slowly stood up. His eyes narrowed. "I'm with Valor FC," the man announced. "We're hosting a Legends event next month. Big promotion. Big money. Pay-per-view. We want you." Gasps echoed through the room. Jason's heart skipped. Valor FC was huge. This wasn't some local show. This was the big leagues. Marcus didn't move. He just looked at the man like he was staring through a wall. "It's one night," the rep said. "You and Darren Lowe. The rematch people waited 20 years for." Jason almost dropped his water bottle. Darren Lowe was the only man to ever beat Marcus, and the fight had ended in a controversial split decision. Fans had begged for a rematch, but Marcus had disappeared before it could happen. "We'll handle everything," the man continued. "Training camp, travel, doctors, you name it. All we need is your yes." The gym waited. Phones were already recording. Everyone held their breath. But Marcus just shook his head. "I'm not that man anymore." The rep smirked. "You sure? 'Cause the world remembers. And they're watching again." Jason stepped forward. "You should do it. You're ready." Marcus looked at him, long, steady. "I was ready once," he said. "But I don't fight for crowds anymore. I fight for peace." The rep sighed, muttered something under his breath, and walked out. The class was silent as Marcus picked up where he left off, motioning for Jason to step back on the mat. Later that night, Jason caught up with him in the parking lot. "Why not take the fight?" he asked. "You'd win. Easy." Marcus leaned against his old truck. "I've already won, Jason. Every day I stay off that path. I win, but people want to see you. I don't live for people anymore." Jason didn't understand it, not fully, but as he drove home, one thought kept repeating in his head. Sometimes walking away from the spotlight takes more strength than walking into it. And maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end of Marcus's story. Maybe it was the beginning of someone else's. Weeks passed. Marcus's Sunday class had grown into something no one expected. It wasn't just fighters showing up anymore. It was nurses, single dads, teenagers with anxiety, women trying to feel safe again. People looking for more than just a chokehold or takedown. They came for something deeper. They came for him. And Marcus, he taught like every move mattered, like every tap out was a lesson in life, not just leverage. He spoke little, but when he did, his words stayed with you. Things like, breathe before you react. Use what they give you. Stillness is a weapon too. Jason was now his most dedicated student, not because of the fame, but because Marcus had taught him how to lose with grace, how to be powerful without showing it off, and how to carry silence like armor. One rainy night, Jason stayed late, helping Marcus clean up. The gym was empty except for the sound of rain on the roof. "You ever miss it?" Jason asked. "The noise, the lights, the crowd?" Marcus paused mid-sweep, leaned on the broom, and looked out the foggy front window. "Sometimes. I miss the clarity of it. When that cage closes, nothing else matters. But life, it's messier. Louder." Jason nodded. "But you're still fighting, you know, just in a different way." Marcus smiled faintly. "Took me too long to learn that." Jason walked toward the door, then turned back. "You know, there's a kid I train with. 15. Scared of everything. I think he needs someone like you." Marcus didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Bring him Sunday." That next Sunday, the kid showed up Skinny, nervous, barely made eye contact. Marcus didn't say much. He just showed him how to breathe, how to stand, how to move. The same way he had shown Jason. The same way someone must have once shown him. As class ended, Jason stood by the wall and watched as the boy smiled. Really smiled. For the first time. And in that moment, he realized the greatest fighters don't just win matches. They build people. One lesson at a time. One soul at a time. Marcus Bell would never headline another arena. But he didn't need to. Because now he was building champions in a way the world would never see. But would never forget.